I can still picture the day Alfie walked into my life as if it happened yesterday. I was sitting in a tiny cafe, sipping their cheapest coffee, trying to untangle my thoughts. Then, he walked in, no grand entrance, just the jingle of the doorbell and the mingling scents of stale coffee and his aftershave. He looked like he'd stepped out of a movie. "Mind if I sit here?" he asked, flashing me a charming smile and gesturing toward the empty chair across from me. "Go ahead," I replied, trying to appear nonchalant, even though his sudden appearance had caught me off guard. We hit it off instantly. It was like we'd known each other forever. We bonded over everything, from binge-watching cheesy TV shows to debating the best pizza topping, pineapple, obviously. Before long, it wasn't just casual anymore. We were serious, and talk of marriage naturally followed. But every love story has its challenges. Ours came in the form of Alfie's parents. Meeting them was like stepping into a lion's den, except I was the steak. His mom greeted me with a frosty smile. "So, you're the one Alfie can't stop talking about, huh?" she said, her tone more ice than warmth. "Yep, that's me," I replied, keeping my composure despite her intimidating presence. It didn't take long for them to bring up a prenup. Their delivery was cold and transactional, leaving me with a sour taste. I agreed to sign it but added my twist: if one of us cheated, the cheater would owe $200,000. Alfie's jaw dropped. "Babe, I'd never cheat on you," he said earnestly. "Yeah, well, my ex said the same thing," I countered. It was non-negotiable, and Alfie reluctantly agreed. His parents, however, were visibly displeased. With that drama behind us, life settled into a rhythm. Our days were filled with simple joys. Evenings on our old, squeaky couch became our haven. We dreamed about visiting Switzerland, knowing it would stretch our budget but determined to make it happen. Picture it, Alfie, the food, the art, the wine. "We have to go," I gushed one night. Alfie chuckled, pulling me closer. "Anna, you had me at food. But let's face it, our bank account says camping, not Geneva." "Then we'll save," I teased. "Starting with your video games." "Not the games," he mock cried. "Take my shirts, my shoes, heck, take the coffee maker, but spare the games." We laughed, content in our modest but meaningful life. Happiness wasn't in grand gestures but in moments like Alfie's attempts at Saturday breakfasts. His scrambled eggs were decent, but his coffee was always terrible. "Feeling like scrambled eggs today?" he'd ask, already heading to the kitchen. "Sure," I'd reply. "But I'm making the coffee." One day, as we washed dishes together, a mundane chore that felt special because it was us, Alfie broached a sensitive topic. "Anna, we need to talk about starting a family," he said, breaking the comfortable silence. I paused mid-scrub. "I know. It's just, what if it doesn't happen for us?" "Then we'll face it together," he said, his voice steady. "But we won't know until we try." Of course, life rarely unfolds as planned. Alfie's mom began dropping unsubtle hints about grandchildren. "Anna, dear, when are you going to give me some grandbabies?" she'd coo. "You're not getting any younger, you know." I'd plaster on a smile. "We're working on it." "Right, Alfie?" "Mom, chill," Alfie would add, his tone firm but good-natured. But as time passed, the pressure grew. We wanted a family, but it wasn't as simple as we'd hoped. Tensions flared, especially with his sister, Hallie, whose knack for stirring trouble became a constant source of stress. It all came to a head one Sunday. We were sitting down for lunch when Hallie showed up uninvited, her sharp gaze sweeping the room like she was inspecting a crime scene. "Well, isn't this cozy?" she sneered, eyeing the modest meal I'd prepared. "Quite the effort, Anna. You must have been slaving away all morning." I forced a smile. "Just something simple and quick." "Please, sit." As we ate, Hallie launched into her usual spiel. "You know, Anna," she began, her tone dripping with faux concern, "I was chatting with Mrs. Alexander the other day." Her words faded into background noise. I met Alfie's eyes, and we exchanged a knowing glance. Whatever life threw at us, judgmental in-laws, nosy siblings, or unspoken fears, we'd face it together. That's just who we were. Hallie's sharp tone pierced the air as she leaned back in her chair, casually delivering the latest jab. You know, she began with a saccharine smile, Mrs. Alexander was just telling me her grandson recently became a dad. It got me thinking, when are you and Alfie going to give me some good news? Time's ticking, you know. My cheeks burned, a mix of embarrassment and frustration, as I glanced at Alfie for backup. But instead of standing by me, he seemed suddenly fascinated by his menu. Mom, seriously, Alfie muttered, but his words lacked conviction, and the room felt no less stifling. Hallie wasn't deterred. She leaned forward, her voice dropping into a tone that dripped with condescension. I hate to be blunt, but you're not getting any younger. Alfie works hard for his money, and honestly, why waste it on someone who can't even fulfill her basic duties as a wife? Hiring help for cooking and cleaning would be much more efficient, don't you think? That was the breaking point. I slammed my fork down. Hallie, I'm doing my best here. I blurted. It's not like I don't want kids. And as for cooking and cleaning, last I checked, marriage wasn't a job with a list of deliverables. Hallie scoffed, undeterred. Marriage isn't a free ride, Anna. You have responsibilities. And frankly, you're not meeting them. The air was heavy with tension, and my vision blurred as tears threatened to spill. But the most painful part wasn't Hallie's words, it was Alfie's silence. When he finally spoke, it wasn't to defend me. Mom's right, he said cautiously. Maybe we should consider hiring some extra help. It could take some weight off your shoulders, too. The words hit like a punch to the gut. I wasn't just fighting Hallie, I was alone in this. In the days that followed, Hallie's visits became more frequent, her criticisms sharper. She scrutinized every corner of the house, pointing out flaws. You call this clean, she sneered, eyeing the living room. Looks more like a pigsty to me. Then came the attacks on my appearance. Is that what you're wearing? She asked one afternoon, her voice dripping with disdain. A wife should dress to please her husband. No wonder Alfie looks so exhausted, he comes home to this. I tried to hold my ground. I dress for myself, Hallie, not for Alfie. And he's tired because he works hard, not because of my outfit. But it was no use. She had made up her mind about me, and nothing I said could change it. The hardest blow came from Alfie. Every time Hallie left, we argued. Why won't you defend me, Alfie? I pleaded one night. She's bulldozing over us, and you're just standing there. She said in her ways, Anna. What do you expect me to do, kick my own mom out? No, Alfie. I expect you to be my partner. To stand with me, not her. Our marriage was crumbling under the weight of Hallie's relentless criticism, but as the weeks passed, I realized the cracks ran deeper. Something else was wrong, something I couldn't ignore. It started with Alfie's phone. He had always been open, but now he'd leave the room to take calls. It's work, he'd say. But it was always from the same contact, Leo work. One evening, I tried to sound casual. Who's Leo work? Alfie stiffened, a flicker of unease crossing his face. Oh, just a new guy at the office. He asks a lot of questions. But his behavior kept changing. Alfie, who never cared much for fashion, started dressing sharper, crisp shirts, tailored slacks, even cologne. Since when do you smell like a department store? I teased one morning, watching him style his hair in a way I'd never seen before. He smirked. Can't a guy switch things up? No harm in that, right? Then there were the late nights. Another long one, babe, he texted one evening. Sorry, this project is killer. I'll be home soon. But soon meant well past midnight, the jingle of his keys waking me from restless sleep. The unease gnawed at me until I couldn't ignore it anymore. Desperate for answers, I hired a private investigator. When the evidence arrived in a plain brown envelope, my world shattered. The photos were unmistakable: Alfie with another woman, their intimacy undeniable. And the recordings? They were worse. Conversations filled with affection and plans, the kind we used to share. I stared at the damning evidence, tears blurring my vision. Every "I love you" Alfie had ever whispered now felt like a lie. But I said nothing. I tucked the envelope away, a heavy burden I chose to carry alone, for now. I wasn't ready to confront Alfie, not yet. I needed time to strategize, to navigate the wreckage of our marriage while preserving my dignity. The days that followed passed in a blur. Alfie maintained his facade of a devoted husband, and I played the role of the composed wife. Outwardly, I smiled. Inside, I crumbled. Our conversations became a careful dance around the truth, each word carefully measured, every laugh hollow. "Are you okay?" Alfie asked one evening, genuine concern flickering in his voice. "Yeah, just tired." "You know, work's been hectic," I replied, the lie bitter on my tongue. It all felt like a normal day until I overheard a conversation that shattered what was left of my illusion. Passing by Alfie's office, the door slightly ajar, I caught the sound of voices. It was Alfie and his mother, Hallie. Their words weren't casual, they were calculated, brimming with purpose. "I can't keep this up, Mom," Alfie confessed, his voice heavy with exhaustion. "It's not just about kids anymore. I don't feel the same way about Anna. It's like we're strangers, just coexisting." Hallie's reply was sharp, her words cutting deeper than I thought possible. "Well, can you blame yourself? She hasn't given you a child. And what else has she really brought to this marriage? But let's not be hasty, my 65th birthday is coming up. No sense in missing out on a generous gift from her before you end things." I stood frozen, their words a dagger to my heart. They were plotting to keep me around just long enough to reap the benefits of my effort and generosity before discarding me like an unwanted relic. The betrayal burned, but beneath the pain simmered a fiery determination. They thought they could manipulate me, use me, and toss me aside. I was determined to show them they had underestimated me. A few days later, we sat down for what was supposed to be a family dinner. Hallie's impending birthday became the centerpiece of the conversation. "So, Anna dear," she began, her tone sugary and false, "what do you have planned for my birthday?" "Something special, I hope." I met her gaze calmly, my mask firmly in place. "Actually, Hallie, I've been thinking of arranging a dinner at the city's most luxurious restaurant. It'll be an unforgettable evening." Her eyes gleamed with anticipation, and she exchanged a satisfied glance with Alfie. They believed they had me cornered. Little did they know, I was already 2 steps ahead. "Oh, Anna, that sounds lovely," Hallie purred. "Just close family, of course. Let's keep it intimate." "Of course, Hallie," I replied, suppressing the bile rising in my throat. "We'll make it a night to remember." The weeks leading up to Hallie's birthday were a masterclass in pretending. I played the doting wife and daughter-in-law, all while orchestrating my plan. The day of the celebration arrived, and the opulent dining room I had reserved was filled with laughter and cheer, the kind that masks family dysfunction. Hallie basked in the grandeur, clearly reveling in the spotlight. "Oh, Anna, you've truly outdone yourself," she gushed. "This place is magnificent." As the evening unfolded, everyone seemed to be enjoying themselves, their smug contentment fueling my resolve. When the dessert plates were cleared away, the waiter discreetly approached me with the bill, a staggering $66,000. I handed over my credit card, the gesture going unnoticed by most at the table. Then, Alfie decided it was time to drop his bombshell. "Anna," he said, his voice steady but cold, "it's time for the truth. I'm done with this, with us. I want a divorce." His words hung in the air, suffocating the room. Before I could process the blow, Hallie chimed in, her tone cutting and final. Well then, now that it's out in the open, it's best you leave, Anna. Tonight is about family, and, well, you're no longer part of ours. Silence fell, every gaze fixed on me. But I refused to crumble. With a calm I didn't truly feel, I stood, nodded, and left without a word. The night air stung my skin as I made my way home, the weight of their betrayal pressing heavily on my chest. By the time I reached our apartment, my sorrow had hardened into determination. I packed my belongings, each item a reminder of what I was leaving behind and what I deserved moving forward. As I zipped my final suitcase, my phone buzzed incessantly. At first, I ignored it, but curiosity won out. Hallie's voice erupted from the other end, shrill and demanding. Anna. The payment didn't go through. You need to fix this immediately. The irony was too delicious. In my preparations, I had anticipated this and blocked access to the shared account. Oh, Hallie, I replied, my voice laced with mock sweetness. What a shame. But since I'm no longer considered part of the family, as you so kindly reminded me, I'm afraid this is now your problem. Her indignant sputtering was music to my ears as I hung up. Later, I heard tales of the chaos that ensued, the restaurant staff demanding payment, Hallie's escalating tantrum, and eventually the arrival of the police. In the end, it was Alfie and his family who scrambled to settle the bill. It was a fitting finale, a poetic retribution for their betrayal. And as I stepped into the first day of my new life, I knew I was finally free. The morning after the disastrous dinner felt like emerging from the wreckage of a storm. Armed with a clear plan, unwavering determination, and a stack of divorce papers, I returned to what was once our shared home. It would be my final time stepping into that space. The tension in the air was palpable, as though it could be sliced with a blade. Alfie and Hallie were mid-argument when I walked in, their anger turning into a unified front of fury as they noticed me. You've got some nerve showing your face here after last night, Alfie snarled, his face twisted in anger and disbelief. Hallie, quick to follow his lead, sneered, do you even comprehend the shame you've brought on us? The entire city knows. Police called to my birthday dinner? People were filming, laughing. You've humiliated us. I met their rage with a calm I didn't entirely feel, though my voice was steady. Shame? That's your concern right now? I reached into my bag and tossed the divorce papers onto the table, placing incriminating photos of Alfie's affair on top. Maybe you should focus on these instead. Alfie paled as he picked up the damning photos, Hallie leaning over his shoulder. Their anger melted into shock, then morphed into panic as the weight of the evidence hit them. And let's not forget the settlement, I continued, my tone unwavering. You stray, you pay, $200,000, to be exact. Hallie's face contorted into a snarl. You wouldn't dare. You can't do this to us. Oh, I can. And I will. My voice was cold, my resolve unshakable. Sensing the severity of the situation, Alfie softened his approach. Anna, please, let's talk about this. We can work something out. I couldn't hold back a bitter, humorless laugh. Work something out? You think words can undo everything? No, Alfie. It's over. Hallie, ever the manipulator, tried a different tactic, her voice dripping with false concern. Anna, darling, think this through. You're destroying us. That ship sailed long ago, I replied, cutting her off. You should have thought of that before. Their panic turned into desperate pleas, but I was done with their manipulation, lies, and the charade they had forced me to endure. In the end, Alfie had no choice but to borrow the money from his parents to meet my demands. As I left that house for the last time, check in hand, an overwhelming sense of liberation washed over me. After everything, I was finally free. The settlement allowed me to put a down payment on a modest but charming home of my own. It wasn't extravagant, but it was mine, a sanctuary where every corner radiated peace. Life became quieter, simpler, and infinitely more fulfilling. I found joy in the small things, a job that kept me engaged, neighbors who greeted me with kind smiles, and a petite garden that I tended to with care. Each morning, as I watered my plants, I marveled at how much tranquility could be found in a life untainted by the chaos of the past. Occasionally, I'd hear snippets of gossip about Alfie and Hallie. Just the other day, while grabbing a coffee at a local cafe, an acquaintance from my old neighborhood approached me. After some polite small talk, they leaned in, their voice low and conspiratorial. "Have you heard about your ex and his mom?" I raised an eyebrow, intrigued but detached. "No, I haven't." "Do tell." They grinned, clearly enjoying the chance to spill the tea. "Well, word is Hallie isn't too happy with Alfie's new girlfriend. Apparently, they're arguing non-stop. It's a mess." I thanked them and moved on, sipping my coffee as I walked. There was a time when such news would have unraveled me, but now it was just another chapter in someone else's story. These days, my biggest concerns revolve around whether my tomatoes will ripen before the squirrels steal them or if I'll ever master yoga without looking like a newborn deer. Life is sweeter now, simple, serene, and all mine.